Hey you guys, happy Friday. All right, so a friend of mine actually brought me something to help him out with, and I thought, well, this might be kind of a cool video to go ahead and show you guys. But before I get into that, just wanted to let you know that this video, you guys, is brought to you by our friends at Wolfsburg West. No, we're not going to be doing a gas tank, but I thought I'd take advantage of the fact that their logo's right there. Anyway, hey, so my buddy brings me this set of pop-out windows and asks me to go ahead and put it together for him. And if you've never actually done this, I thought, okay, there are some little easy ways to go ahead and put these things together. And so I thought I would go ahead and show you. So here we go. Okay, so my friend brought me this stack of frames and some glass, and it was basically reproduction glass, but the frames themselves are frames that you can go ahead and get at Wolfsburg West. And it was interesting because a couple of these had already been put together, and what I was blown away by was the fact that this rubber hadn't even been put on the car yet, and it was already just, I mean, just stiff. Super stiff, and in fact, just taking it out of the frame, this thing was it was all falling apart. So I went ahead and of course got some seals at Wolfsburg West. I mean, gosh, the pliability already, you can tell, so much softer. It's going to be a heck of a lot easier to actually go ahead and install them. The frames, so yeah, we don't need this. Now, the frames themselves are frames that Wolfsburg West also offers, and these frames I have really enjoyed. They're just so much easier to go ahead and put together than dealing with original ones. One of the things that I like about the reproduction frames is the fact that you don't have to deal with these little brackets here where the frames are basically two pieces, and I'll show you that in a little bit, how they're held together by these two screws here. Now these are 3.5 millimeter screws, very small. And on the original ones, they will rust, and you either have to drill them out, and then if you do, then you got to retap it, and it's a pain in the butt. And when you look at the holes that the hinges actually screw onto, those are pretty small, and on the original frames they're going to go ahead and get tweaked as well. Now these frames have been chromed, so no, Wolfsburg West does not offer chrome ones, but they do offer raw steel. And then you can go ahead and get them powder coated or chrome. But today I figured I'd show you basically how to go ahead and, you know, get the rubber on the glass and go ahead and put these things together. So here we go. Okay, so as I mentioned before, these frames are actually held by two little screws, and these tiny little screws. Let me set that down. I mean, they are really small. They're 3.5 millimeter, and the only thing with these screws is that if you're not careful, you can actually go ahead and strip them. So you want to be really careful when you go to take these apart. And then once the screws are out, then you're actually just going to go ahead and pull the frame apart. So pretty easy. So you take all 4 screws out, and then voila. Now the other thing too is when you do go to take these frames apart, make sure that you pull them out carefully, because if you put any pressure up or down, this little piece here, this thing will bend very easily. And granted, yes, you could go ahead and bend it back, but guess what? You're only going to get a couple tries, and then it's going to snap. So you don't want to mess with that. Continuing with the video here, I went out and grabbed this piece of glass that I went ahead and put the seal on earlier. Now, I do have to mention that this seal was brought to me by the customer. This is not a Wolfsburg West seal, but it will be kind of interesting to see how it fits in the channel. The only reason that I'm using it is because of the fact that he had the other two frames that were already kind of completed with the seal, so obviously I want it to go ahead and match. Now, one of the things that I like to do is I like to put the seal on the glass, and I left it out in the sun for a little while just so it gets a little bit soft. And usually on most of the Wolfsburg West rubber, these corners will actually go down, and it's a little bit easier, but I think once it starts going into the frame, it should be fine. Now, the glass, yes, it's dirty. It's got a little bit of dust from the paper, but no big deal because these are going to be cleaned afterward. I already went ahead and did the edges of the glass all the way around, covering at least the area that the rubber will cover with super fine steel wool. So it takes care of any imperfections and obviously any dust, paper, blah, blah, blah that might have been on it, just so the glass is clean underneath. But now I'm going to show you what I like to use, which is baby powder. Now, baby powder is actually pretty good just because of the fact that I will actually put it on the rubber here. There's some people that like to use silicone, which is fine. You can. I have found that baby powder seems to make it slide right into the frame very nicely. And the nice part is that it usually will kind of get pushed out with just the force of the air, and once it does go out, then you know, that's it. You can also use a little bit of compressed air too, and just blow any excess off. But it's a pretty nice little lubricant for the seal going into the frame so it doesn't get pinched and tear. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, when I'm putting the baby powder on here, I actually put on quite a bit. And let me move these brackets. I'll explain these not brackets, these clamps here in a little bit. But basically what you want to kind of do is just really, you know, be liberal with it and just put it all over. And main thing is that you want to kind of go ahead and get that sort of, I guess you could say, rubbery feel out of it. And kind of lubes it up nicely. The main thing is you don't want this rubber catching on any edges of the frame, because that's what will actually go ahead and cause it to tear. And once it starts tearing, that's it. I mean, yes, you could take it apart, but quite frankly, I've never really taken the time to go ahead and try and glue the thing together, you know, and fix it again. So, not fun. Considering also that the price of these seals, you know, it's not super inexpensive. It'd be one thing if they were only a couple bucks, but they're not. So, you definitely want to make sure that you take the care to go ahead and get these suckers nice and covered. So, all right, cool. Looks pretty good. Then we're ready to go ahead and start putting it into the frame. What I like to do is you'll grab one half of the frame. Now you'll notice that one half has the tab there for the pop-out latch. And what you want to do is make sure, especially like this is reproduction glass, so it just has a tiny little marking here. It's not original, but if it had the original logo like Secured or Sigla, you want to be cognizant of where you want it positioned on the frame, you know, whether it's going to be facing the outside or the inside, left or right. But once you actually go ahead and get your glass in order, you can do it a couple of different ways. Actually, I don't know why I was thinking I was going to go ahead and drop it in from the top. It's a lot easier if you're actually holding it. Yeah, look at that. I mean, okay, so far, you know, this thing slides right on. And as you slide it on, you want to make sure that there is this lip that's sticking out. And you want to make sure that it's on both sides. Again, that's why I like to put a little bit of baby powder on there, because that will actually prevent the rubber from getting sucked in, and at least this lip will actually be on the frame. Then you grab the other half of the frame, slide this bad boy on there. Now, as you're putting this on, you'll notice, let's see if I can actually show you in the camera, but you'll notice that there, technically, you could confuse this as being two different channels, okay? And where you'll see if I pull it up here, some people might get the little screw part in the wrong channel. And if you do that, well, obviously you're not going to be able to screw this thing on. So you just kind of want to be aware of where it's going. And also, when you go to put these frames together, you want to be really careful with these edges here on the frame that they don't start to gouge the rubber prematurely, because if they do that, well, then you're already messing it up and you haven't even started it. So you want to make sure it's in the right one, and then you just slowly start going down. Now, here's one of my biggest pet peeves, and you can kind of see it, but a lot of times people, hopefully you guys can see this, people will go to put these things together, okay? And the frames, they're here, they come, you know, they'll come together, okay? But if you notice, there's a little bit of tension here, a little bit of flexibility, and a lot of the times people will just start putting the screws in and they'll tighten it down. However, it doesn't always go all the way down. Look around next time you guys go to a car show and look at some of the pop-out window frames, and you'll notice that these edges don't exactly meet the way they should. So what I like to do, which is kind of cool, is go to Harbor Freight. That's where I bought mine. And but I'm sure you could probably go to Home Depot, and you're going to buy 2 clamps, okay? And basically you've got one that's a little bit longer than the other. Hopefully you guys can see this in the video. And you're going to use the short one, obviously, for the short side. And spread this open. And okay, well, actually, you know what? We're going to have to do the long one because right now it just kind of sprung out. So we'll do the long one. But the main thing is that you open it up. The long one is obviously for the long side. And I usually kind of take it off the edge of the table a little bit. So then this way you can put the clamp on there, squeeze the trigger, and just have it centered, and then you start bringing it together. On these, fortunately, it doesn't really need too much. In fact, why don't we just do it on the center here? Normally, by the way, I'd be doing this in a different spot with a little bit more real estate, but for the sake of the video, I decided to do it right here. Of course, I'm really close to the ice cream bus. Not the way I usually like to do it, but you squeeze it a couple bits, and once it goes in, you again want to check your seal, make sure it's okay, and you'll notice that now it's, you know, it's bringing it together, but it's still wanting the bulge up here. So then what you want to do is bring the other clamp. Now the thing is that these clamps will not work in conjunction being right on top of each other. I mean, they could, but they barely hold on. Now you could drop this one a little bit more. For video's sake, we'll just do it like this, because these frames actually are going together fairly easily. You just kind of clamp it, and you'll notice now that the frame starts coming together, okay? And then if you notice down here, there's still a little bit of separation, but one little squeeze of the trigger and boom, it brings it in, okay? Again, going around the edge, pretty nice. It's not sticking out or anything. Now, while you've got this like this, you gotta be careful with it just because of the fact that it is barely holding on, really, for the most part. You don't want to squeeze these super hard, because if you do, you're going to do one of two things. You're either going to chip the chrome, or you're going to mess up the paint, or worse, you're going to bend the edges together. But once they're together, then you can actually go ahead and take a look and start lining up your screws. And yeah, It looks like they're pretty much in line, which is nice. So once you get one in, just put them in there semi-snug until you get the other ones in. But you can do one on each side. Of course, I'm not wearing my glasses. But once you get one on each side, then you're in pretty good shape. I mean, sure, you could take the clamps off if you want, but you know what? Why not just finish the job? Now, these particular screws are not magnetic. So, for some reason, the screws that come with these things are not magnetic. Otherwise, I would say go ahead and get yourself a screwdriver that's obviously got a little magnetic bit and make your life a tiny little bit easier. But hey, difficulty level a little bit higher. So you just have to be extra careful. Okay. Almost home here. But I'll tell you this, the baby powder thing I've actually used for these. And the other one that I really, really like that I've used it for are bay window, 1968 and later bus windshields. All right, so those are in now and they're pretty snug. So I feel confident that I could take this off and yeah, check it out. Looks pretty good. Take that one off, take this one off. Don't scratch the ice cream bus. And there we go, you guys, check it out. Look at that, they're lined up nicely. Okay, and the seal all the way around looks pretty nice. Now, if you ever have like a little bit of a gap here, you can actually just go ahead and push it back into, push it back in a little bit. All seals are a little bit different. And well, assuming that you buy the right brand and or the same brand. So anyway, there you go, you guys. Check it out. Nice, nice little seam. I'm happy with it. Very happy. So, and then like I said, afterward, as far as the glass goes, you could go ahead and clean it with, obviously with Windex or whatever else, but you can go ahead and use super fine steel wool. So, ta-da, there you go. Now do that 5 more times and then you got your whole set. By the way, one last thing, the seals that go on the outside of the frames, those you can actually put on after you've screwed the frames to the body. The reason being is, and I'll show you here on another bus in just a second. Okay, regarding the outer seal that actually goes on the frame here. Now, the hinge lies over here on this part of the body, but trying to get this frame onto that hinge while trying to fight this rubber that, as you can see, is compressed, okay, because normally it's flat, you will fight and fight and fight to line up those 5 little holes that are on the other side of this frame with that seal. So the fact is that you don't actually have to put the seal on before you put the frame in. You're better off getting the frame, and you could get a helper, or if not, you can go ahead and put it on there and you'll be able to line up the holes and put the screws on. And then after you do that, you put on the seal. So there you go. Okay, and one last tidbit about the seal that I wanted to show you, and I'm using the box as well as Wolfsburg West logo as a good backdrop, is when you look at the profile of this seal, it's a little bit difficult to see here. I'm going to see if I can get it kind of up close. But if you look at the profile, you will notice that on one side, see how there's not much of a lip on there, but on this side, you have that definitive lip. See this right there? See how this side has that lip, and this side kind of doesn't. It's smooth. That means that the way that this thing installs, you'll notice that the seal is actually closer to this side than the other side. When you go to put it on the frame, you want the side that is closer, okay, or in other words, the part that doesn't have the lip, you want it to be going toward the body. So basically, if this was the body of the car, you want it to be going against this. This way, when you close the window, there's going to be a little bit of pressure as it bends, okay? Now, some people don't realize that it's that way. And then if you put it this way and you put it on the body like this, guess what? There's not much pressure, and sure, it's a little bit easier to open up your pop-out windows, but they're not gonna seal. And that's why you need a little bit of tension. And a lot of times people say, oh, but then it's such a pain in the butt to actually open up my windows. Well, guess what, you guys? Baby powder. Do a little bit of baby powder, put it around the edge of the seal, and by doing that, you put that on there, and then this way it will be a little bit softer, and that goes for the cargo door and the door to body seals too, if you really wanted to, until you're training the seal to actually go ahead and get that little bend, and it'll be a little bit easier, because so many times, you know, you go to pop out your windows, and especially if you have original Sigla glass, you hit that thing just the wrong way and it'll shatter. So, all right, you guys, there you go. Hope you liked the tips, and leave a comment. And you guys, as always, seriously, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Oh, by the way, guess what? Newsflash, the last video that I did on that cool 67 Westie, they found a new owner. Yep, cool stuff. So it's gone. Anyway, all right, take care. See ya.